This Nashville Predators broadcast is brought to you by Bridgestone. Your journey, our passion. By Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt. By Fifth Third Bank, official bank of the Nashville Predators and Bridgestone Arena. Member FDIC. And by your Middle Tennessee Toyota dealers.
Good evening, everybody. Pete Weber and Terry Crisp welcoming you inside Bridgestone Arena. Predators and the Carolina Hurricanes and Terry Crisp with the Toyota starting goaltenders.
And looking down on the frozen pond, Pete, tonight we have starting for the Carolina Hurricanes, Justin Peters, 5-7-1 record, and he's just fresh off the 4-1 victory against the Washington Capitals. And for the home team, the youngster again in net, Marek Mazonets, 5-5-1 record, Pete, 12th consecutive start for the youngster.
So the Predators, with Klein back in the lineup, open up with Josi and Jones behind the Fisher line, and it's head-to-head as Eric Stahl's line with Jeff Skinner on the right, Tomo Ruutu, on the right, and Skinner on the left. And we are underway here from Bridgestone Arena. Andrej Sekera comes up the left side, and the pass tipped high in the air. Phil Housley is notifying his guys to go for a fair catch from the bench as he went back for it.
Don't take the knee.
No, do not take the knee. Shot from the right side, and the score from high up on the boards, Justin Falk. And the Hurricanes strike just 23 seconds into the game.
Wow. And that's not exactly the start you want as the home team on that one, Pete. And as you mentioned, almost from the sideboards, Justin Falk, the defenseman, comes down and he just throws it towards the net. And I'm not sure if it hit anything on the way or just simply...
I think it skidded under.
Just dropped down and in. So Justin Falk gets his team to an early start here. Second goal of the season. Wow.
So that quiets the gathering here right away. Justin Falk, the 21-year-old out of St. Paul, Minnesota. Predators down a goal to get it started. Hurricanes watching as David Legwand dumps it back in the zone. A little reconfiguring here to Legwand as Craig Smith on his right, Gabriel Borg on his left. This is the Jordan Stahl line out for Carolina. And it's Smith dumps it in, an unassisted score for Justin Falk, his second goal of the year. Cycled low from Nick Spaulding. From the point, the shot was blocked, taken by Victor Bartley. Bartley is out with Ryan Ellis as that one goes wide of the Carolina net. Out to center ice. Ellis able to stop it there. Nathan Gerby approaches him. Taken down the right wing, holding on to it there. Trying to pump it down low, Elias Lindholm. Bartley fielding that and coming off the bench to make the stop. Westgard comes down the right wing and hit the back side of the net. Matt Cullen on for Nashville. Put it up the boards, held in there, and shot wide of the net by Sekera. Westgard lays it off to the left corner. Grayson Bowman back out high with it. Here's Westgarth as Bowman cut to the front of the net. Off the boards and back to center. Hurricanes trying to get a change, and the puck is dumped into the zone. And the Predators make themselves a line change. Bouncing puck, skip just past Seth Jones. Number one line back out now for Carolina, Eric Stahl. It goes past Seth Jones, and as it turns out, around the Predators, Eric Nystrom as well. And this will be an icing against Carolina as we go to our injury report brought to you by Vanderbilt Sports Medicine. 3 players on injured reserve for Carolina: Pitkanen, Semin, and Hudobin. Gleason, Westgarth is actually in the lineup tonight, and Brett Belmore. For Nashville, Philip Forsberg, Pecorino, and injured reserve, Shea Weber and Rich Klum. So the face-off in the Carolina zone. Fisher wins it back. Seth Jones, as they come out at him right away, did Jeff Skinner. Ruutu bumps in the corner. It is flipped up the glass by Ron Hainsey, most recently with the Winnipeg Jets. And given back over to Sekera. Picked up at center ice. Ruutu bounced on him as he tried to carry into the Nashville zone. 1-0 Carolina. Puck taken off the end wall by Ryan Murphy. And the puck bounces away in front of the Carolina net. Guarded by Peters, who's coming off that victory in Washington on Tuesday. Hornqvist coming out with it. It is Ekholm putting it back down low. Ekholm on with Kevin Klein. Here is Klein as the puck was tipped low and taken away. And now Eric Staal moves out with it. Down the right wing side. Moving it right out in front. Poke checked away there by Marek Mazanec. Chopping at the puck. Jiri Toluskin. Down toward the corner. Ekholm there. Almost getting pinned on the side. As the puck comes back up and a shot from the point off a skate in front. And that one was just thrown on net too and caused some problems.
And obviously, Pete, the Carolina Hurricanes figured, hey, we got one doing. Let's just see. The last 2 or 3 have just been thrown through traffic right at the youngster Mazanec in net for Nashville. Let's take a look, Pete, and see if we can follow the Carolina here in this one. Talking with their people this morning, the one thing they said their team was trying to really get better at was forechecking. Yes. Sending 2 and sometimes 3 men immediately on the puck. They're looking the same as Nashville are for offense. Trying to score some goals, and I guess they figured, hey, you might as well shoot the gap and go after. If you're going to get goals, you got to be aggressive. Now, mind you, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Correct. As the puck is shot back in the Carolina end. So reconfigured lines for Nashville this evening. The Cullen line broken up. Here comes Gerby. Lost his balance there. The puck tipped away by Stahlberg. Predators have Spaulding, Cullen, and Stahlberg together tonight as the Predators are offside trying to enter the zone.
Head coach Barry Trotz, 11-4-2 all-time against Carolina. And Pete, this morning talking with Coach Trotz, the one thing he was adamant, he says, yes, we are getting scoring chances. Yes, we're working hard to get the scoring chances. But then this comes, the big but comes in. We have to execute better. He says we have to put the puck in the back of the net. See, we just keep hitting them in the chest.
Yes.
We're not, I know they don't intentionally do it, but he says we got to find a way to finish off those good scoring chances that we're getting.
Ekholm's pass to Nystrom, tipped out through center. Carolina dumps it back off the end boards where Ekholm retrieves and got there just ahead of Grayson Bowman. Picked up off the sidewall. Carried in. That shot by Hendricks is stopped by Peters. Predators getting their 4th line on now as the puck taken by Bowman. Slid over and then fed back out Nystrom. Down the right wing side. Nystrom losing control. Justin Falk to put his team on the board just 27 seconds in with a shot off the right board. Lose some traffic there. Predators could have got called for too many men on the ice. Here is Skinner. Skinner with a shot that was blocked by Josi. Ruutu, a tough battle. We've seen this for years, including his time with Chicago. He turns and backhands it wide of the net. Hornqvist did not get it out of the zone. Back it comes straight away, and that shot by Sekera goes wide. Rebound taken by Fisher, tipped by Sekera, covering up Josi. That was blocked by Ruutu. And stolen away by Skinner. Skinner comes on. His shot floated wide of the net to the stick side of Mazanec. Off the back of the goal cage. And the Carolina Hurricanes doing a great job right now of bottling the Predators up in their zone.
That's the pressure we just talked about, Pete, on the forecheck. They're sending 2, 3, and their defense core is certainly not afraid to pinch down, as witnessed by the first goal.
The penalty coming up here against the Predators. Delayed penalty call. As off the skate, it goes there, and now the Predators play it. Wire couldn't control the pass, and now the Predators will be short a man. Here's the call from referee Gislan Hebert.
Nashville number 59, minor penalty, cross-checking.
So Josi off for cross-checking. Power play hockey for Carolina. When we can turn, they already lead by a goal by that man, Justin Falk.
Roman Josi, why is he sitting there all alone? Well, we'll take a peek and see why, because he took a cross-checking penalty in the corner. Too close to the boards, a little too tough on the back. The referee says that's cross-checking. Carolina will go on the power play, Pete.
So they have the Eric Staal line out up front. Skinner, Ruutu on either side of Staal. Falk will be on the point along with Sekera.
So they got Sekera out there, right?
Yes, they do.
Wonder why. You got 3 power play goals.
That's right. As that puck takes.
So they put him out there.
Well, they're trying to pile on. Exactly.
Running up the score.
Yes. Hammered off the wall by Klein. Held it initially by Falk and then flagged down by Ruutu, who genuflects as he goes back and gets control of the puck. Off the bench now is a penalty-killing forward, Eric Nystrom. Holding the puck back down toward the front of the net, but behind the attacking forward, who was Ruutu, and the Predators are able to clear. Juggled a little bit by Peters behind his net. Nystrom in deep on the forecheck along with Spaulding. Bounced away, came right out in front, and the backhander goes wide by Spaulding. The puck mishandled by Ryan Murphy. Hurricanes with their second power play unit out there, about to give one up, or so it seems. Kirby with it now. Kirby plays it in, down to the corner, and almost stolen away from Murphy, and now stolen away, and there's going to be a tripping call here, drawn by Hendricks, as the puck is played by goaltender Justin Peters. So it was a minute 37 of the power play for Carolina, on which they did not manage a shot on net.
So on the trip, Pete, trying to get away a little bit. Yeah, you can't put this stick down between. And just earlier, Nystrom doing some nice forechecking, forcing Carolina to turn the puck over in front. Spaulding gets a gift to him just before Christmas, but he wraps it up and over on the backhand. It is high, wide, and handsome. Now, why would you say handsome when you miss the net high and wide? We gotta fix that phrase.
Yeah, change that a little bit.
It's got to be changed.
High, wide, and heartbreaking.
There you go. Already you solved it.
Canes bring the puck out. Mike Komisarek. Behind the net, Kevin Klein flips it up. Ekholm takes it in 5 seconds. The Predators will have the man advantage. And now out of the box comes Roman Josi. Predators down a goal here, 1-0. A little bit over a minute 30 of power play time. Legwand lugs in. Gave it back. Hornqvist, Legwand, Fisher up front. Here's Seth Jones with a blast. That was blocked. It came directly off Yuri Tlusty. Legwand on that half board now. Here's Josi. The shot tipped up and over the net. From behind, it's Sekera putting it on the wall and clearing the zone. Tlusty and Eric Stahl go to the bench. They're replaced by Carolina. Patrick Dwyer is out along with Jordan Stahl. Canes get it and dump it back behind the Nashville goal. 45 seconds remaining, and Gerby's penalty for tripping Roman Josi. Predators with a second power play unit out now. Bourque going over after it, and the puck taken off the sidewall, and then the Carolina Hurricanes are able to clear, and doing the honors there, Mike Komisarek. 25 seconds remaining on the advantage for Nashville. Cullen at a point with Ellis. Wilson delays on the left side. He tried to get away from Dvorak and Malhotra as the Hurricanes are able to clear the zone.
Realistically speaking, Pete, 10 minutes into the first period, Nashville Predators' only good scoring chance, I'd say, comes shorthanded.
Yes, exactly.
Falling.
A little sleight of hand there by goaltender Justin Peters. No shots on net for the Predators, and they're short in power play. They trail this game 1-0 with 10:20 gone.
Welcome back down to the Preds bench with Seth Jones. Seth, not the start you're looking for, but you guys seem to get a little bit of life off of that penalty kill.
Yeah, we did a great job there pressuring, and we've done a pretty good job on the penalty kill all year, so it's nice getting some momentum back.
Jeff Skinner, 7 shots, 2 goals, and an assist his last time out. What's the key to kind of containing space on him and keeping him off the board tonight?
We just got to take his time and space away and collapse on him when he has the puck. He's very skilled, and he's poised with the puck, so the less he has it, the better.
Thanks for this. Good luck.
All right, thanks.
There you have it. The book on keeping Jeff Skinner off the board. Back to you, Pete and Terry.
All right, Stu, on the face-off in the Predators' attacking zone. Matt Cullen, an ex-member of the Hurricanes, and a shot results off the face-off win. A scramble from behind the net, and pulled away by Ryan Murphy. Losing control of it. Thrown toward the net there by Spaulding. Put back up the board. Held in by Ellis. Tipped in front and deflected wide of the net. Up the right wing board. Skating into it, Elias Lindholm. And offside is called as the Hurricanes attempt to enter.
Hey, well, now it's time for the Hunt Brothers Pizza Save of the Week. Right now, you purchase a ticket for the Thursday, December the 12th game against the Dallas Stars and receive a second ticket at 50% off. To order, call 615-770-7800 or visit NashvillePredators.com/Save of the Week. Well, there's your Hunt Brothers Pizza Save of the Week deal.
And now the face-off. Riley Nash against Legwand. Put right back in the Nashville zone. The Predators almost fumbled away. Lindholm was the man putting on the pressure. There is Justin Falk. He's the difference in this game right now as he passed toward a teammate who had fallen and picked up by Gerby. Gerby with the shot. Deflects wide of the net, tried to center it there, and Mazanec is able to control. 11:06 gone.
Head coach Kurt Muller beat at one time belonging to our organization with Milwaukee, as evidence there. 10-6 won with them. And Coach Muller, well, you know what he scored, Pete? Stanley Cup clinching goal.
Yeah.
For the Montreal Canadiens in 1993. He scored the goal that clinched the cup.
Canadiens fans are hoping, since that was the last cup they have won, they can talk about someone else in that regard, a more recent vintage.
My question is, did he keep the puck?
Great question. Offside Nashville there. And he, of course, also was the draft choice of the New Jersey Devils. He was taken one slot after whom, Terry?
Probably the big Mario.
Yeah, that Mario Lemieux fellow.
If I'm not mistaken. Right. Yep.
So the face-off between the two. Number one lines again here at center. Hurricanes take it back in their zone. Fired in by Falk. Slowed down anyway by Mazanec. And then Jones' pass was blocked by Skinner. Pulled away by Fisher. And Falk blocking that one out of play. 11:33 gone here in the period. So Kevin Klein is back in the lineup tonight and ready to go back on the ice.
Nice to see him back on the ice with skates on, Pete. Not that boot he's been walking around in for a while. But when he got hit in the foot on that shot in the game and barely made it off the ice, and then we lost him for a couple of games, but he's back in action again.
Well, you know, eyebrows were raised yesterday at practice. He looked pretty good out there.
Well, the one thing about you have to know that if he wasn't ready, certainly we're not going to put him back out there on that shit. Man.
Absolutely not. Spun back in by Nystrom. Difficult time there as Gaustad was trying to get into the zone around Patrick Dwyer. Up the boards, the defense pinched down again for Carolina. Jordan-Stahl out high, skates down the wall versus Gaustad. Here now is Hainsey, who was signed late in the training camp period. Up taken by Hendricks. Gaustad dove for it. Dwyer held it in. Big bodies are falling all over each other.
And again, Pete, going to the attack. The Carolina Hurricanes, exactly like their coach said, they want to create offense. In order to do it, you got to be aggressive. You got to go to the forecheck, and you got to play on the other team's end.
Flipped out to center. Stopped there by Hainsey. Tipped over left wing side, and just poked away by Jay Harrison. Up into the Predators bench. 12:38 gone in the first. And last Thursday, Edmonton in town. Here is where Kevin Klein got the final straw, if you will.
Right off the right foot, Pete. I used to love Glenn Hall when he was a goaltender. That happened.
Yeah.
They'd say, hey, just get out of the way, eh? That's why I have the big pads on. They pay me to stop them, not you.
Very generous.
That was a Ghoulies attitude on that one.
Yeah.
Get out of the way. Let me stop them.
Because if you block them and they deflect, it goes on my record.
Yep.
Taking the puck back up ice, Dvorak. Tipped around Spaulding. Laid back out by Bartlett. Manny Malhotra, the late penalty call coming up here. And high sticking is the indication. It will be at 13:04 of the period. Everybody's asking, on whom?
Yeah.
On whom?
You like the penalties for it now. Everybody just mills
National
around.
penalty number 25, moderate penalty for high sticking.
So it's Stahlberg.
Okay.
And the Hurricanes will get their second try at the power play.
So Stahlberg goes to forecheck with one hand and stick. His stick slides up, rides up the handle of the Carolina Hurricane player and catches him in the mush.
Got Manny Malhotra there.
And that constitutes a high stick. So back on the power play go the Hurricanes.
Scrambling for that puck in the circle. Hurricanes managed to secure it. Across now, and Falk's shot deflected up high. Skinner on the right half wall. Predators working with Gaustad and Hendricks. Skinner with the shot, and a glove stop is made by Mazanis. So with these two teams, Terry, you had pointed on your keys to special teams performance tonight.
And Nashville beat the differential special teams percentage 103.9. Anything over 100 is good, they say. So that puts them second in the conference ranking. Carolina 13th in the conference ranking. After you take your penalty kill and your power play and you put them together, say, here's how good they are, here's how bad they are.
That's what they call analytics now. Here's the pass off the skates of Falk. Eric Stahl with
I think I played with him in the 70s.
Yeah, I think he was a teammate of yours with the Islanders.
I think so.
As the puck comes out front, just bounced away from Falk. Now straight away it goes. Sekera up to Falk. Falk looking, trying to get one around Yossi, who blocked it, and the Predators clear it.
I wonder how many of those players there are wearing those anklets or those guards that they've all been talking about, and all the teams have been trying to convince their players to wear them around the ankles now. Those,
yeah.
They say they're lightweight. They're not a heavyweight that makes it, that much harder to skate or that much more weight to lug around.
Now a quick change on the point now for Carolina as Hainsey came on. He was a power play specialist for many of his seasons here, and the puck tipped just wide in front of the net by Riley Nash. Second power play unit on for the Hurricanes. They already lead 1-0. Murphy to the box, and that puck is fired wide by Gerby. Hurricanes maintain possession. Low left wing. Lindholm looking off the pipe. Lindholm rung it off the pipe. 18 seconds remaining in the penalty. Nash straight back for Murphy. Through the box it goes. And there's another try by Riley Nash that deflected away. Nathan Gerby, and his pass goes past the point man, which will effectively kill off the balance of the Hurricane power play. They managed one official shot on the Nashville net. It's 1-0 Carolina. 4:47 to go in the period. Hainsey coming on, and his shot is tipped out of play. 15-15 has been played in the first. The Hurricanes scored just 27 seconds in. It is 1-0 Carolina here in Music City. Predators trail Carolina 1-0 at about 6:30 tonight. Predators general manager David Poile provided an update on Pekka Rinne's situation.
In a nutshell, the doctor's happy with the progress. What he is recommending is 2 more weeks, basically, of rehab, if you will. And then December 20th is sort of a target date to hopefully get him into a more strenuous activity leading back to Plains.
So there is a timeline as close as one has been able to be provided for Pekka Rinne and his highly anticipated return. We were talking to him downstairs before the game, and he was anxious to do that, Terry.
Now, one thing you said, Pete, about December the 20th, they said the phrase, more strenuous exercise. But they also really the fact that there is no set timetable for his return.
Nor can there really be, realistically. As the puck taken on the left wing side. Pulled away then by Fisher. Dwyer got his stick on it. Here is Ekholm using the glass and trying to spring free Colin Wilson. Peters hooks it away, and there's the goaltender played it. He's going to say he played it in the no goalie zone. Wow.
Yowie. Yeah, I got to see that one again, Pete,
Carolina's foul number
because
35. Minor penalty for delaying the game. Playing the puck outside the shot zone.
he must have dragged it back in because he comes way
Yeah.
out above it. So he's way above it.
Oh, man.
I'll tell you, good eyesight by. Now, he can't even move the puck through it?
That's intriguing.
Because when he released that puck, he was out of the no-play zone.
Yes.
Wow. Touchy.
So Peters, delay of game. Officially delay of game, playing that puck in the no goalie zone to the Predators. We'll have Bowman serving the Peters penalty. Predators, man advantage. Coming on, back for Bourque. Rebound try in front. And it deflects away to the left side wall for Carolina. Pulled back under control by Craig Smith. Smith. Now Colin Wilson. Wilson was bothered down on the side. Getting in his face there was Manny Malhotra, who has been an outstanding signing for Carolina. He comes up with Dvorak. And back now in control of the Predators, Matt Cullen. 1:10 remaining. And the Predators having some difficulty getting into the Carolina end. Legwand tracking it down. Pulled in now by Fisher. Behind Legwand, it bounces. He goes after, along with Hornqvist. Legwand and Hornqvist, 2-on-2. Fisher joins in. Back to the point, Ryan Ellis. Left side with it, and then the pass by Jones deflects in the air. Ellis for Jones. Jones turns, and Gerby is right there on it.
They're aggressive, Pete, on their penalty kill.
Are they ever? And the puck was swatted away to the corner.
And they're like, the Russians brought this in. When the puck moves, a player moves with it and is going right to it. So right now, Carolina, I like this kind of a penalty kill. Aggressive. Don't let the other team set up. Right after them, when the puck moves, a body's moving with it.
And Eric Stahl dumps it back in the Nashville zone as both sides get personnel changes. Dwyer approaching Hornqvist, who turns the corner on. Hornqvist with a quick shot. Peters gives up a rebound to the corner. Stahlberg tries to flag it down. Stahlberg's pass. It came out across the line, and that will do it for this Predators power play. And offside is Stahlberg trying to enter the zone.
And the good scoring chance in the power play came from Bourque, from Wilson. Nice little pass through Stahlberg to Wilson, and Bourque one times it. And Peters makes it, and then right behind it, Jones cranks one in, and again, goaltender Peters. Hey, all you got to do is make that initial stop, Pete. Let your defenseman do the rest of it. That one hit him, went way up. It was going for a basketball jump, that baby. But Bourque, a nice one-timer. Justin Peters to the rescue.
Let's see the Predators get some lift from what they were able to accomplish, putting the pressure on with a man advantage. They managed a total of 3 shots on the Carolina net. Hurricanes come back, coming down the left wing, flipping it in low, and it's deflected back to center where Hainsey bends over to pick it up. 1:21 remaining in the first. Kevin Klein into the corner. Cullen took the tough angle shot. Nestles on the back side of the Carolina net. Taken up ice by Ruutu. Ruutu down the left wing. And that one is passed right up the middle by Mazanec, and he's going to be responsible for his own icing call as the Predators come back. Sekera to touch up. Coming up in our first intermission, among the things we'll be covering for you, a feature on Matt Cullen, how he is fitting in here with the Predators. And we'll also harken back. He got to lift Lord Stanley's Cup while playing with tonight's opponents, the Carolina Hurricanes. First period highlights and stats, and Stu Grimson downstairs with the Predators player interview. There's Matt Cullen on the Predators bench. Face off to the right side of Mazanec. Spaulding is asked to lead. Legwand will take his spot against Eric Stahl. Won it back. The shot broken up in front. Sekera right in front. Now Ruutu, and that somehow went wide. Here is Skinner. He couldn't get around Stahlberg. Stahlberg tips the puck back out to center. Following up Skinner is Stahlberg. Skinner turns the corner, flips in. Yossi tapped it away. Legwand picks it up. And again, the Hurricanes very aggressive on the forecheck as Ruutu took down Legwand on the end wall. Fought 4 on the right wing side. as Cork had to step over his stick. Legwand putting his stick up as if to say, hey, I didn't do anything there. And Grayson Coleman gets it back and passed over for Hainsey off his skate. 14 seconds remaining. Yossi from the Nashville line. Smith turns, slid it into the Carolina end. Hainsey over to his defense partner as time runs out in the first period. And here is Hainsey taking the pass from Falk, who had the only goal out of all of that in the first period. Each side with 2 power play opportunities. Hurricanes had 1 shot on net. The Predators had 3 in those power plays at the end of 1. Nashville has put 7 shots on Justin Peters, and the Hurricanes have managed 4 on Merritt Mazanik as the Predators trail 1-0 after 20 minutes of action at Bridgestone Arena.
This Nashville Predators broadcast is brought to you by Ford.
Closing in on the second period here at Bridgestone Arena. Carolina leading the Predators 1-0. Let's send it back downstairs where Stu Grimson is with the coach.
Thanks, Mark. Outside the Preds locker room after a single period of hockey with Coach Trotz. Coach, this Carolina team, front end of a back-to-back for this group. They go home to play San Jose tomorrow night. Probably the case that Coach Muller is going to be looking to spread minutes around as evenly as possible. Does that create an opportunity for you?
Well, I hope it does. So, right now we've got to get our game going here. They come with 2-on-2, so you got to be committed to a chip and chase. We didn't do that. We wanted to play a slow down type of game. Obviously, we got on our heels first shift. They scored on a weak goal, but we turned the puck over 25 times. Their game is all about pressure, and if you're going to be slow and try to make plays for that pressure, you're going to be unsuccessful. What you have to do is chip and chase and support the puck and win those one-on-one battles. It's almost like a running game in football. You got to get yard after yard after yard and keep pushing forward and north. And if you don't do that, if you're not committed to that, you're not going to have any success.
Thanks for this, Coach. Good luck in the second.
All right.
There you have it from Coach Trotz outside the Preds locker room. Heading up to the second period of play. Back to you, Pete and Terry.
And coming right out of that corner was Eric Stahl with a pretty fair chance. Skinner, the keep it, misses the net to the short side.
How about the stat that Coach Trotz do at Stu Grimson?
Yes.
We turned the puck over 25 times. Hello. What is going on in tape? Man. One of the ones they said the defensive zone turnovers, Nashville had 9 defensive zone turnovers to Carolina's 2. That doesn't bode well for you.
Predators a little forced a turnover there. Jones now for Bartley. His shot gets through. Bartley 50 seconds into the period. Folks, don't go away for long at the end of periods because each side now has picked up a goal in the first minute of a period tonight.
So Bartley right off the bat, Pete, from the point, just tees it up, lets it go. And almost as surprising as we're at Falk's goal, this is the same thing. And coming right out across in front. And it might have been Mike Fisher that come right across in front of the goaltender. And Fisher might have tipped that puck, Pete.
Looks like he did.
Off of his body, off his chest possibly. So I'm thinking that'll be Fisher's goal from Bartley. When they get
and
it all...
Jones. Fisher from Bartley and Jones.
When they get it straightened out, they'll tell us the right goal scorer, but we still know what's going up on the board.
And now they're going to review it to see if a possibly hit from above the crossbar. Referee Ghislain Hebert is on the headset.
Now, would it be above the crossbar or would it be redirected with a hand?
A hand might be a question,
I wonder.
too. But I don't know how a hand could come and question that. Was it the hand?
Let's see where it hits him up.
The hand matching on the
Can't
stick?
get close enough. It could have been his left glove, but I'm not.
Or his right glove, right? Let's see.
Can't ascertain, yeah, on that one. So I'm taking a look, Pete, to see if to see what they are checking on down there. So it would be nice if we had a direct line saying to the Paul McCann in the box. Hey, Paul,
What's he looking for?
what are you talking about down there? What are you looking for?
Paul McCann, the public address announcer, there to hear all of that. Now, it wasn't too long on the headset. Is he going to point to center, or what are you going to hear?
The call on the ice will stand. We got a good goal.
Oh, yeah, we got a good goal.
Well, the fans are certainly in agreement. Now let's take a look.
Okay. Hits a Hurricane player, and then Fisher, and Wilson was doing battle in front of the net on that one. So whatever they do come up with, Pete, it's a 1-1 tie. We can't tell you that definitely.
goal if you were too long at the concession stands during intermission. 50 seconds, 5-0 into the period. The Canes got their goal 23 seconds into the game. Now Seth Jones. So we're getting Fisher as the scorer of the goal on the real-time scoring. Buck knocked down by Bartley. And sent skyward back to the Carolina line. Up there by Hainsey. It rolls behind the Nashville goal. Bartley has to take it off the skate. And Bartley not able to hold on. So yes, it is indeed Bartley and Jones with the assist on Fisher's goal that tied this game up. Cullen's line is out now. Again, reconfigured here tonight. He has Stahlberg and Bourque with him tonight. Here is Falk, score the Carolina goal. Derby throws one from the tough angle just outside the post. Derby out of the corner. Turning now, Lundholm. He turned every which way, didn't he? Here's Gerby trying to flip it back out front. Fed back to the line. And there's a shot deflected wide. And then a stick and a puck both go flying. Oh, that was difficult there from Mazanis, wasn't it? Puck nudged ahead by Spaulding. Predators a 2-on-2. Stahlberg the shot. Rebound in front. Poked up in the air. A backhander. And the score by Stahlberg. At 2:41, the Predators take the lead.
And that comes right back down ice after Bartley had the stick knocked out of his hand on a shot that blocked the shot going towards his goaltender. And back down ice they come with Spaulding poking the puck loose to Stahlberg. 2-on-1. Stahlberg takes the shot. Spaulding takes a whack at it. And then Stahlberg comes around behind the net and takes another whack at it. So Peters here in the early going, Pete, we talked about it, seems to have a little bit of trouble handling the puck for rebounds. And that's what caused that one was a rebound. So Stahlberg gets the goal. And I know that Spaulding will get one assist.
That probably, I would think, would be it. Since it effectively was a two-man play going down to the attack. Predators up 2-1 all of a sudden, scoring twice in the first 2:41 of the second. Predators have to clear the zone. They do. Stahlberg gets his third from Spaulding at 2:41. Steering it now Murphy. His shot deflected wide off Yossi. So Spaulding is indeed the only assist on that goal by Stahlberg. Eric Stahl deals it back to his D. Here's Ruutu. Ruutu to the left wing. Trying to work his way in was Ruutu, but that was stopped by Kevin Klein. You say Kevin Klein, yes, he's back in the lineup after missing the last couple of games. He had a foot injury, and initially we were told he was going to be out probably 2 weeks. It turned out to be 2 games. Around the boards for Fisher. Fisher trying the shot, deflected off Murphy. Colin Wilson with it. Wilson goes to the outside. That shot gloved down by Peters with traffic in front.
So, Pete, it's time now to take a look at our Coors Light freeze cam and the goal. Watch the freeze right here. Spaulding's coming in. Peters is trying to corral it. Spaulding hits it in midair. The Carolina Hurricane player couldn't help his goaltender. And watch coming around from the backside is Stahlberg and bounces in off the side of the goaltender. There you have your Coors Light freeze cam. Spaulding whack in midair.
Keep going after those rebounds. Falk with the drive off the stick side of Mazanis. Put up on the boards. Predators get it out to center, but Falk was on it before Legwand could get there. Down the right wing side. Play just in across the line. Up the right wing. Sekera breaks it up, and they got it in behind Seth Jones. Here's Dwyer. Long for Jordan Stahl. Back to the net. Pitchforked up the boards. It goes sliding into the Carolina zone. Harrison back to pick up. Predators were trailing 1-0 after 1. Then scored twice in the early moments of this period. Derby with the shot that took off high. Spaulding puts it on the right board. Harrison had kept it in. Now the feed, breaking in against Stahlberg. He is stopped there on the first try, and the Predators shovel it down low into the corner. It's making me think what a young fan told us before the game, Terry, about the night he expected from Victor Stahlberg. Stahlberg puts it down for Spaulding. Here's Cullen onto the scene. Riley Nash tries to get it out. Over for Gerby, who accelerates to center ice. Gerby dumps it in. Canes get a change on D. DeSantis puts it behind the D. Out right wing side for Hornfield. And the Predators need a forward change here. Nash's pass tipped into the corner. Ellis goes over. Ellis along with Dvorak. They both tumble down on top of it. Puck pulled out of that corner. Deflected back, but Ellis was there for Nashville. Hornfield checked as he came out by Paul. Ekholm tries to dig it out. Ekholm tapped it away from Bowman. Right wing side at center. As they tried to set up Gostad down the right wing. Predators making a change and fortunate enough not to get called for too many men there. Oh. And yes, the puck came right up in the facial area there of Grayson Bowman as he struggles back up to his feet and to the Carolina bench. 5:57 off the second period clock.
I think Ellis was trying to put that puck in deep off the play. Peter comes back to him, and he just hammers it, and right off the ankle.
Oh, yes, off the ankle,
and
not the face.
You know that hurt Grayson Bowman, and he'll be heading, to the dressing room to take a look, and those are the ones, Pete, where you're not sure if you want to take your skate off or not.
Yes.
The second you take your skate off and that thing swells up, you're not getting that skate back on.
Yeah, you'll have to find somebody with a bigger skate to have a chance. So now Jeff Skinner breaking in right side, and he scores to tie the game back up at 6-11. Well, we talked about Jeff Skinner in our pregame comments, and the youngster picks up yet another. Jeff Skinner gets his 7th of the year.
So that's how quick it turns in this one, Pete. It's just simply a 2-on-2 coming down. And again, it's just a simple shot, 1-on-1. Skinner versus Mazonitz, and that one went on the same place that Falk's shot went on, over the pad, under the glove hand, in the net. It's almost a Memorex of the Justin Falk shot in the first period, and Skinner ties it up on a 2-on-2. So that's 2 goals tonight that I won't say it.
Ruutu's shot was deflected out of play off the stick of Roman Josi. So, with 6:26 gone in the second, this game is all even at 2.
Tied at 2-2, and both Carolina's goals sort of Memorex, the last one that ties it up. The first one in the first period off the bat, 15 seconds in, over the pad, under the glove. Now watch Skinner, same shot, over the pad, under the glove, almost Memorex. Now the only difference was that Falk was a little further out than when Skinner took his shot.
So both from off to the left side of Marek Mazanec.
Talk about change of fortunes, Pete. Stahlberg, breakaway, clear, nice pass from Cullen. If he puts that thing in, it's 3-1.
Yes.
Seconds later, down they come. 2-2 is the score.
But in that first period, what can the Hurricanes say about chances that Tuomo Ruutu had?
Yes, true enough.
So Ruutu hard against Klein. Eric Stahl turns. Skinner got a shot. It goes behind the net for Ruutu. Right in front, and then just sort of rolled away from Stahl. Ball off to his left side. Stahl behind the net. Fitted out in front, and that try by Toulouse as they're on the midst of a change just was deflected wide. And spinning around, not knowing where the puck was Andres Sekera. Hey, Hoops fans, get your college basketball fix this Saturday on Fox Sports South. The action begins at noon. That will be 11 Central as the Tennessee Vols hit the hardwood to battle the Tennessee Tech Golden Eagles. Don't miss a minute of that action from Knoxville this Saturday at noon Eastern, 11 Central on Fox Sports South. Predators get the faceoff. Tipped in from Spaulding from the outside. Ainsey there. And pulled back by Stahlberg and Spaulding. Spaulding out of the corner. So a bit of a line change has resulted in a good sequence of opportunities, particularly for Spaulding and Stallberg. Stallberg scored to put the Predators up at the time, 2-1. Murphy takes it off the right board, skating in. A shot that was blocked by Bartley. Bartley got the shot away that was deflected in off Mike Fisher to tie the game early in the second period. George Dwyer deflected up off him into the Hurricanes bench. 8:06 gone in the second period. And so much of the attention seems focused on Seth Jones when teams come into town, or whomever is playing the Predators, because of the impact he has made.
And much it should be, Pete, because being a rookie in the league and doing what he's doing, and the ice time that he is taking, time on ice averages in around the 24-minute mark. And when he was paired off when Weber was healthy, they were the top duo on this hockey club for time on ice.
So Murphy and Ruutu get the assist on the tying goal by Skinner. Skinner's 7th goal of the season. 2-2 here with 11 and a half to go, second period. Thank you for joining us tonight, not only on Fox Sports Tennessee, but on the NHL Network. Pete Weber and Terry Crisp from Nashville's Bridgestone Arena. Battling for the puck on the sidewall. Hornqvist wanted to head to the net, but that path was cut off. It's Colin Wilson now. Wilson forced behind the net. Hornqvist goes down. Wilson comes back with the puck. Scoops it over for Ryan Ellis. Wilson comes out to take Ellis's pass. Straight away, Matthias Ekholm. His shot. Rebound in front, and Ellis is the defenseman coming down low, trying to get to that rebound. Kirby clears it for Carolina.
Good action around the net that time by the Predators, putting lots of pressure on goaltender Justin Peters. All kinds of traffic, just couldn't find a way to get the puck through.
Now Nystrom getting a pass, and Murphy able to take the puck away.
Nice recovery by Murphy.
Tremendous recovery.
Good long bomb pass to Nystrom right on the tape. And Murphy turned, went stride for stride. And part of like about Murphy was he didn't take a penalty to make that good defensive play.
Right, as the puck squirted out past, now there's going to be a penalty here. And interference is the call, and the Predators will have themselves a power play. Interference the call at 9:44.
Carolina spell number 65, another penalty for the Dolphins.
Ron Hainsey, the veteran defenseman. Predators trying to break through from the point. And Gostad, tall as he is, couldn't get over top of it. Okay, Terry, one of your keys to power play. This is the third chance for Nashville tonight.
All right, let's see if we can make us look like geniuses up here. Well, at least make it look like a little bit.
The faceoff was pulled back between the point men. Yossi will carry out. Here's Fisher. In ahead of Seth Jones. Jones pursues it in the corner. Rolls it over, and it is Jordan Staal taking out for Carolina. Staal holds on. His shot, forcing the Zanis to make a save. Leguan leaves the puck right side. 1:25 remaining on Hainsey's penalty. In off the skate of Hornqvist. Falk goes back after it. Leguan there too with Hornqvist, and Falk came away. He managed to get through that traffic jam, but he couldn't get it out, or did get it out, but just off the hand of Seth Jones outside the line.
Let's take a look, Pete, at Shea Weber's helmet, and you'll see something you haven't seen there before, the visor on his helmet, Pete, from that eye injury when he got that puck in the eye the other night. He will be wearing the visor when he comes back on his helmet, Pete. And we could sure use number 6 in our lineup on the power play. Why? Because he has 5 power play goals.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Very simple math for you.
Cullen back for Ellis. Now here's Cullen coming on. Shot by Colin Wilson is blocked. Another try, and it's picked up off the ice by goaltender Justin Peters.
And picking up the pace of the Nashville Predators right now, Pete. They're starting to storm the net. Before this power play, they were all around Justin Peters, the goaltender for Carolina. Couldn't find an opening, doing their best to get it. And right back here on the power play, they're now starting to fire. I think Pete is starting to pick up on the fact that rebounds might play an important part from here on through with Justin Peters in there. We talked in the first period about it, you and I, quietly, but I'm thinking right now, rebounds could play a big part for Nashville.
Manny Malhotra wins another faceoff there, a critical part of their game. And Malhotra, 5 of 7 on faceoff tonight. That's a huge reason why he was signed by general manager Jim Rutherford. Ellis delivers it in. You've heard us talk so much about Paul Grostad's effectiveness there. And that's a big part of success for teams with puck possession as a shot by Ellis goes wide. And the rebound is poked out by Jordan Staal to his brother Eric. Here is Eric holding on, coming down the middle, and the backhander by Sekera goes wide.
And a break there for Nashville. Pete Sekera couldn't get the puck where he wanted to put it. He's been down late, got fed the delay pass.
Penalty is over. Hainsey out of the box. Could be a 3-on-1. And the shot and the score, they convert. Out of the penalty box, Riley Nash takes advantage. And the Hurricanes, who led 1-0, then trailed 2-1, now lead at 3-2 after 11:51 of the second period.
And again, Pete, just simply from a turnover right there in the neutral zone. They turn the puck over. Out of the penalty box they come. Riley Nash finishes a 3-on-1 when they come out of the penalty box. And that just simply threw the 5-hole on a shot by number 20, Riley Nash. But that was turned over in the neutral zone.
Yep.
And what did Coach Trotz say? We can't keep doing that.
He
said
talked about all those turnovers.
Yeah, he said we had 25 turnovers or giveaways. Well, this is another big one for them right there.
Here's Ruutu. His shot was deflected off the stick of Roman Josi. Hurricanes lead 3-2. There's a shot by Murphy which deflected away. Nash puts it behind the net. Skinner tried to get there. Overskated. Now Skinner making a move, trying a little toe drag. Picked up by Nash. Hainsey from the point. Deflected off Stahlberg. Tip. Ruutu got it back. A try that fluttered to the corner. Turning back around now. Jeff Skinner off the skate. Picked up Eric Nystrom. And the Predators bring it out. Seth Jones. Jones looks to the side of the net. Almost played fair. If they've been watching things so carefully, Terry, about the no goalie zone out of the trapezoid here.
We caught once already on that one, Pete. On a Hawkeye referee call. I didn't see it, so you mentioned it. Because I wasn't looking for it.
No, and you wouldn't. You just don't tend to. As the puck caroms back in, just ahead of Dwyer. Deflected to center. Harrison sends it back in. 6:50 remaining here in the second, and icing against Nashville. So Dwyer and Hainsey with the assist on Nash's go-ahead goal.
Hey, the Predator back home next Thursday against new intra-division rival Dallas. It's a Jack-in-the-Box college night in Smashville. With a valid college ID, fans can receive an upper bowl ticket for $15 or a lower bowl ticket and a college t-shirt for $30. Drink specials will be offered to the first intermission. Puck drops at 7 p.m. and tickets are available at NashvillePredators.com. We're calling 615-770-7800.
Down the boards it goes behind David Legwand. Turning back with it, Dwyer. His backhander goes wide. Then a follow-up shot hit the outside of the net. Hammered up the boards. Falk initially stopped it. Deflects to center. Dvorak couldn't get it, and it's sent back into the zone by Grayson Bowman. Up the wall for Bourque. It's been a while since we've seen the Predators go through center, build up some speed on the attack, hasn't it? As that one is tipped out of play. 6:09 left in the second. Carolina, after falling down 2-1 here in the period, lead this game 3-2.
Stu Grimson down on the bench with Coach Lambert. As compared to the first period, Coach, your club seems to come out with a whole lot more urgency here in the second, in spite of the fact that you're trailing by one. Does that come out of the game situation, or are you guys addressing something specific between periods?
Well, I didn't think in the first period, I didn't think there was enough speed to our game. They're a fast team. We know they're a fast team. And, you know, I felt like we were half a step behind. Every time we turned around, there was somebody on top of the puck, or they were beating us to loose pucks. We reversed that a little bit in the first 10 minutes, but now, since we gave up a couple goals here, we're back into that trend here. We've got to pick up our pace to our game, plain and simple.
Thanks for this, Coach.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Pete and Terry, back to you midway through the second period from the Preds bench.
All right, thank yous to Colin Wilson. He's 2-on-2 first, gaining the zone. Now rolls it down to the corner. Away from Fisher. Hornqvist for Wilson. Colin Wilson turns back around, cuts to the front, and it bounced off the heel of Hornqvist's stick. Bumped back in from outside the line and off the back of the Carolina goal. 5:22 remains in the second period. Murphy comes out with it. Hit on the side by Craig Smith, and Murphy retreats for Hainsey. From the left wing, bounced off Kevin Klein, who will return to the lineup for Nashville here this evening. Bringing it around the boards. Reverse down low. Picked up on the left wing. Knocked down by Craig Smith, but came back to center. Real battle there. And that battle picked up by Ruutu, who misses to the short side. Yes, the better part of that number one line on the ice now for the Hurricanes, as Mazanec absorbs that shot with 15-17 gone, and the Hurricanes leading by 1. Predators trail Carolina 3-2, and time now to get to our Coors Light Cold Hard Facts, brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light.
Best record versus any opponents all time, Pete, was the Columbus Blue Jackets, 72.7. This Carolina team, 70.6. The Islanders, same numbers. And Winnipeg, when they were also Atlanta, right, Pete?
Correct.
Sort of feasted on those teams for a while.
So the face-off, and Gaustad will turn to facing off right-handed there against Riley Nash. And it's taken out of the scrum by Ellis and deflects over for Nystrom. Nystrom flips it in. He got in around Lundholm. Nystrom for Hendricks. Gaustad down there ready to support. And behind the net, Nystrom. 2-on-2 from behind the net. Nystrom lost it momentarily in the skates and on the kick plate. And he comes out to Ellis. Ellis a shoulder fake, and his shot goes wide. Hendricks wisely keeps it in low, tipped up by Nash. Down the wall, Hendricks. And just jabbed away at the last possible instant there by Jay Harrison. Lindholm and Ellis comes back to center ice. Matthias Ekholm for Nashville with under 4 minutes to play in the period. We're in the second. Carolina led this game 1-0. Now leads at 3-2 after the Predators had come back to take a 2-1 lead. Seth Jones with the pass for Fisher.
And the unit that just went off the ice beat, Nystrom, Gaustad, and Hendricks had a good shift out there. That's what Coach Lambert's talking about. That's what he wants. Aggressive, forechecking, get the puck, take it deep, work it low. Give him a good energy shift.
Back now comes Jeff Skinner. Tried to float one right in front, broken up his Stahl. Eric Stahl was cutting toward the net.
And I think it was Hornqvist who midair bunted that puck right on past through, so he couldn't get to it.
Peters plays the puck off the sidewall. Fisher runs into the man there. And back up come the Hurricanes. Going wide with it again. Getting it behind the net. And this being Jordan Stahl. Stahl up the boards. The Stahl brothers of Thunder Bay, Ontario, trying to get in there. And now we have a man down. Dwyer low in the circle and high sticking, the indication, the reason for his being down. But the Stahls, who know, maybe they are the next generation of Sutters dominating the NHL. The trainer comes out to take a look. Now let's catch this.
Oh, yeah, stick right up in the face. Stahlberg, not intentional, but trying to get himself into the play. They stick him right up in the face, Pete.
You got Patrick Dwyer.
And we'll say it again, you are responsible for your stick. Let's hope Patrick Dwyer's all right, because you hate anything in around the face.
Absolutely. So
scares it.
2 high sticks on Stahlberg in this game. So power play number 3 for the Hurricanes. They're nothing of their previous 2, 1 shot on net. Here is Hainsey. He gets it back at the center point. He shot a little bit too much velocity there for Nash initially. Comes back to Hainsey. Decides to try a shot there, broken up by Gaustad. Hainsey sweeps to keep it in play. Yossi and Klein both back of the net. Reaching to the puck is Hendricks, and he backhands it down ice. 30 seconds have been burned off the high-sticking penalty. Hainsey carries the puck in. Nash lost it. He was the one who converted that play coming out of the penalty box to give Carolina the lead, and the puck is fanned on there at the point by Murphy and cleared down by Spaulding. Peters very carefully negotiating his way around the trapezoid. Murphy looks up the middle. Jones read that and tipped that, as it turns out, over the glass down by the Carolina bench.
Hey, the Nashville Predators and the U.S. Marine Corps Toys for Tots Foundation will be collecting new unwrapped toys on next Thursday and Saturday at the Bridgestone Arena before the games. Please bring in new unwrapped toys so that children from all across Middle Tennessee will experience the joy of the holidays firsthand. So please bring your unwrapped toys on Thursday and Saturday. New ones, yes. Big ones, little ones. Bring the toys.
Puck behind the Nashville net. Played along the boards by Jones. Kept in. Now given over again now for Skinner. Skinner. They were looking back door initially. Canes lead by 1. Turned out in front, and then Eric Stahl missed when the puck carried him back to him. 24 seconds remain. Stahl went over onto the side trying to get to it. Now under a minute remaining in the period. Looking for Ruutu. The puck bounced back. Skinner held a high-velocity pass there and fires, and they score. A power play tally for Carolina to take a 2-goal lead with just over 51 seconds remaining in the second period.
So adding to it, Pete, the Carolina Hurricanes again on the attack. Going to work down low, and we always keep saying it. Too much time does not bode well for you. And down low, just throwing out a Stahl, and it's just a shot right through it. I don't think, Pete, that Ruutu touched that puck. And Skinner just tees it up. And man, he teed that thing up. And I'm not sure if there was 4 bodies or 13 in front of him.
It makes no difference.
Mazanets on that shot. But I'll tell you one thing. Skinner said this is going somewhere through somebody.
So now 40 seconds remaining as a shot tipped up from in front of the Carolina net. Hainsey for Jordan Stahl. Talusti turned right into Kevin Klein. Off Jordan Stahl's stick to center. Under 30 seconds in the period as the Predators wrist it back in. Going after it, Fisher. Taken away from him by Harrison. Now given away to Hornqvist, but blocked by Hainsey. 14 seconds to go in the period. Yossi toward the net. Bouncing puck in front. Colin Wilson with a try. Wide of the net. 7 seconds remain. Puck behind the Carolina goal. Feeding it back out in front. 2 seconds as Yossi's shot will be deflected wide. And the Hurricanes, who all of a sudden trailed 2-1 in the period, have turned things back around to take a 4-2 lead after 40 minutes of play. Thanks in large measure to that power play goal with less than a minute remaining in the period. So the Predators, after coming up with 2 of their own, well, the Carolina Hurricanes came up with 3 and lead this one 4-2 after 40 minutes.
This Nashville Predators broadcast is brought to you by Bridgestone. Your journey, our passion. By Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt. By Fifth Third Bank, official bank of the Nashville Predators and Bridgestone Arena, member FDIC. And by your Middle Tennessee Toyota dealers. Heading into the third period, Hurricanes 4, Predators 2.
Pete Weber with Terry Crisp, who, well, he likes to talk about high-speed plays. What do you have for me here?
I got your Charter high-speed shot of the night, and it's number 53, Jeff Skinner, on the power play beat, and he just bombed one, has all kinds of time, and just whistled that by him. There you have your Charter high-speed shot of the night.
Change in goal heading into the third period for the Predators. Carter Hutton takes over here in the third. As we're underway with the third period, for Carter Hutton, his first appearance since the game in Pittsburgh on November the 15th. He came on in that one and played the third period. So Mazanet's night, 40 minutes, facing a total of 13 shots and allowing 4. Eric Stahl for Skinner. Little bouncing puck there, played over toward Craig Smith. Intercepted by Ruutu. Ruutu's pass cross ice, taken off the boards by Sekera. Trying to cut in front with it. Skinner picks up the loose puck. The stick had been dropped by David Legwand. He retrieves. Josi with Eric Stahl. Coming off the bench, Murphy at the right point. He's not in position to take a pass here, and that allows Javi Bork to put it up on the board. Eric Stahl's reach. Legwand was able to get enough on it to clear the zone. Puck is given back and fired wide by Bork. Takes it off the right wing corner boards. For Smith, turning on Murphy. Smith turning, coming out high with the puck. A shot held on to by Peters. Waiting off to the side was Mike Fisher.
So as you mentioned, Pete, in nets now for the Nashville Predators, starting the third period, Carter Hutton is back in net, Pete. And you mentioned his last appearance was in Pittsburgh.
Yes, sir. The last game of that incredible long trip for the Predators. Fisher on the faceoff is trying to set up Hornqvist. Now the puck bounces but stays inside the line. Jones knocked it down. Comes over for Jordan Stahl for Carolina. Erie Toulousty with it. In wide of Hutton. And the backup goaltender, a long string of 11 starts by Mazanec. That is tough. And there's a lot of work required in practice to stay sharp.
It is, Pete, and not only in the physical part's almost easy, I think, especially for a goaltender.
You can get your work in easy.
Yeah, the mental part coming in off the even start of period, the middle of the game.
The shot by Falk, and a pad save is made by Hutton. Falk throws another one toward the net, broken up there. And the Predators, Carter coming down with it. There is the shot, and that one blocked. Matt Cullen was breaking in. And we have a somewhat lamer Hurricane. Falk going back to the bench after getting a good piece of that shot. Back toward the Carolina line. It will be retrieved by Victor Stahlberg. Predators trail 4-2. Puck turned over, and Eric Stahl's shot is blocked up to the corner. Ruutu back of the net. Running into Cullen. Cullen saying, hey, I didn't do anything. You got to admit, Ruutu was hard to knock down.
Yes, and there's no rule in the rule book about mugging. You're allowed to mug guys.
Yes, you are. But you're not allowed to precede the puck across the blue line.
No, you're not. Okay. Bridgestone and the Nashville Predators would like to send you and a guest to the 2014 Bridgestone NHL Winter Classic at the Big House on the campus of the University of Michigan as the Detroit Red Wings take on their arch rivals for years and years, Toronto Maple Leafs. Grand prize winner will receive a trip for two from Nashville to Detroit, including flight, hotel accommodations, merchandise, tickets to the Zach Brown Band New Year's show, and of course, game tickets to the matchup on January the 1st, 2014. Visit NashvillePredators.com/Winter Classic for more info. Wow, that's a package.
Is it ever? Right there in Ann Arbor. They are going to have an availability of as many as 120,000 seats. Up the wall, so Falk recovered from blocking that shot. Gerby did not intend to knock that backhand as far back as he did into the zone. Knocked down Jordan Stahl. Passed ahead, and now Nystrom will slide it softly in the zone. Hainsey has it for Carolina. Predators on the change. Seth Jones directs it back to the corner. Legwand goes behind the net. Harrison got there ahead of him. Salusti could not clear. Bouncing puck. Passed underneath the stick of Legwand. Salusti clears it out. Bourque inside the Nashville blue line. Up the right wing for Seth Jones. He has some room. They close on him quickly as his shot was deflected by Hainsey. Looking to pass the puck out front. Deflected behind Bourque. Bartley holds it for Jones. Jones going down the right side. Lost the puck to Hainsey. Lindholm tips it in. He almost got taken into the Predators bench. And a check by Bartley. 4:20 gone. Predators looking to generate some form of attack here. They're down by 2. Kara comes in deep. Carter Hutton.
He was thinking about playing it a little too early also,
Yes,
Pete.
he was.
In the no-play zone.
And we've had that call made already. Predators weren't able to cash in on the subsequent power play. Eric Stahl got the puck in the corner, passing it front for Skinner, and Skinner almost had the hat trick there.
And that was a good toe save by Carter Hutton.
Was it ever? Hurricanes collide as they were trying to go on the attack. Fisher down the right side. Here comes Colin Wilson. Tapped away from Wilson by Sakharov. He comes out from behind his net. Right wing with it. Dropped off for Gerby. Broken up in the circle. And then Gerby turns and sends that one out of play. 5:17 off, and how close did Jeff Skinner come to picking up the hat trick here, Terry?
Getting Chapeau thrown on the ice. In close on it. And again, Pete, guess who feeds him? His little buddy, number 12, Eric Stahl. And right in tight. I'll tell you, Carter Hutton flashed out that right toe and made a nice save. And see, there's your goal scorers. Jeff Skinner in close, through traffic, still gets the puck on net. I couldn't get it up to get a chance to get any height on it. But again, Carter Hutton, right, Johnny on the spot on that one, as you mentioned, Pete. Yeah, Skinner would be celebrating a hat trick.
Harrison shot, gloved by Carter Hutton. And now, I know you just mean that figuratively about Eric Stahl being a little buddy at 6'4", 205 pounds.
We watched him in warm-ups when he was there tonight. You know, working down there, saying, that guy is big. I mean, you read the stats, you look at them, and until you see them in live in person, they're big men.
His brother out there now to take the face-off. He weighs about 15 pounds more.
So leave the Stahl brothers alone.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good idea. Matt Cullen, and then the pass over right side, deflected away from Stahlberg by Harrison. Stahl takes over again, and now the Hurricanes' Murphy carries out. From the Kitchener Rangers, Ryan Murphy. First-round draft pick. Working the puck out of the corner. Now there's Skinner with a shot again. That deflected off a Predator stick. Bartley gets another one from one of his teammates. So Stahlberg is out there without the stick. Carter Hutton stops it. Just got it around Riley Nash. Predators down 2. Hurricanes with that shot from the point by Harrison and gloved down by Carter Hutton. So the Predators trailing by 2 with 6:16 gone in the third period.
One of the players tonight to watch, 53, Skinner. Why right there? Walks in, drills one through the 5-hole on the power bases. Here's a second one for you guys to rack up. That's 2. And here's the third one. Almost. A big toe save by Hutton early in the third. Saved it. Here's your top line tonight. Skinner, 2 goals, 4 shots. Big Eric Stahl, assist, tough in the face-off circle. And Ruutu is doing the hitting and the skating and the checking on that unit. So, Pete, one of the keys tonight was try and stop that unit.
And we can't say that Ruutu has not been getting some chances of his own.
No kidding. In the early going, how about 2 wraparounds that he had working down low on him.
Here comes Craig Smith to center. Bounced in off Ivy Bourque. He goes after it along with Falk. So injuries aplenty in this game for Carolina. Dwyer got hurt with that high stick, and there's a shot going wide to the short side. But they are playing down 2 forwards and down 1 D-man. Roman Josi. Down the left side. Easy trying to take it down the corner. And over it comes to Murphy. Murphy down the right side with it. That deflects up off Bartley. Lindholm for Murphy. Here's Hainsey. Hainsey trying to settle it down. Back to Murphy.
Well, so far, Pete, talking with your buddy who does radio play-by-play for this Hurricanes, Chuck Caton, when we're talking, we asked him about this team, he said, they're fast, they like to use their speed, they will use it on the rush, defensemen will join the rush, but oh yeah, he said, they're also desperate.
Yes, and they, with that speed, they get you back on your heels.
And the speed also, Pete, they use it for good forechecking. Never mind just simply on the rush coming at you. They get in on the forecheck fast. And the thing that scares you more about a team that has that kind of speed is they can get in the forecheck, go deep, and get back in time to defend.
Right.
Back in the defensive zone, they're back in the pests again.
The icing called here against Nashville.
Timberland, hard hits, highlights tonight. Let's take a look, Pete, and see who's punishing who out there on the boards, off the glass, where it's just not for faint of heart to be caught in there. Of course it's a physical game, Pete. So we're showing you right there the Timberland hard hits highlights for tonight.
Yeah, there's a lot of thinking in this game, but you don't put ice bags on your mind after a hockey game.
This is true, partner. True.
Harrison guides it down for Skinner, and the puck still comes down for Ruutu. So Ruutu got a chance out of that. Ryan Ellis into the corner it goes. So Ellis there was paired with Seth Jones. Here comes Skinner again. Ruutu driving the middle. That shot off the chest of Hutton. The OC puts it on the sidewall. Matt Cullen's pass was intercepted. The Predators managed to tip it out. The Hurricanes have managed to outshoot the Predators 19-16 to this point. So Nashville with one shot on net here in the third period. Right side Murphy. Picked up by Yuri Tolusti. Simple road game style employed now by Carolina up by 2, just trying to keep the puck deep in the Nashville zone. Predators come back. And that shot by Klein was blocked by the Carolina defense. Klein gets it back. Almost stolen away from him. And a backhander off to the side of the net. Taken by Matt Hendricks goes wide. Stopped behind the net by Carter Hutton. 10:32 remaining in the third. Fired up the boards. Left side. Falling down at center. And there's going to be a penalty here for tripping. So penalty at 9:39. Tripping is the call. Ghislain Hebert will make it official for you here. Well, not verbally.
So Bourque reaching, trying to forecheck with the stick in the neutral zone. Takes the feet out from under the Hurricane player. So he goes and sits. He hopes for 2 minutes for the sake of his team. Trippy.
So Carolina
will go on the power play, Pete.
One of their previous 3 on the power play. The right side with it. Skinner goes toward the net, and then it bounced behind Murphy. Taken up ice by Mike Fisher. Fisher comes on with Spaulding. Spaulding the shot. Peters makes the stop on the shorthanded Nashville opportunity. 10 minutes gone in the period. Eric Stahl on the right board. Going to get a penalty called here on Mike Fisher. It's going to be a 2-man advantage coming up unless the Hurricanes score here. And the Predators do not play the puck, but they do. And it's going to be a tripping call to make it a 5-on-3 for a minute 27.
And Fisher heading to the play box. He just combined shorthanded scoring attack with Spaulding on a 2-on-1. The perfect feed from Fisher. And then Fisher takes the feet out from under him again in the neutral zone on big Eric Stahl. So both Fisher and Bourque in the penalty box for tripping, and both in the non-dangerous effect neutral zone.
And both tripped a Stahl brother.
Well, they're all over the place. No wonder.
Yeah. 5-on-3. Buck comes back out high, and there's a try by Skinner that deflected up and out of play almost. Murphy holds in. Skinner. Predators using 2 forwards, 1 D-man here. Murphy. Stahl throwing across. Kirby tried to behind the back of it through the legs play and went wide with it. Back for Murphy. And this shot by Skinner is broken up. Hendricks got a piece of it. Kirby is the man in front of the net. Off to the side is Lindholm. 43 seconds remaining, 2-man advantage. Murphy's shot gunned there. Getting the rebound Lindholm, and his pass off the skate of Skinner. Eric Stahl fakes. Got it back from Murphy, and his shot goes wide. 27 seconds remaining, and a 2-man advantage for Carolina. There's Eric Stahl's shot, deflects away, and back through center. Finally, some of the Predators can go to the bench for some relief. There's a long time in the D zone.
And through all that, Pete, Eric Stahl pounded one right off the post, deflected a shot from the point to the right of Hutton. And Hutton's best buddy is the right post.
Now the Predators will get 1 man back. Hurricanes got 1 shot on goal in that span. Now 5-on-4 hockey as a power play situation continues. Stolen by Bourque. Bourque goes behind the net to the blue line. Backhanded and taken away by Sekera. Long for Jordan Stahl. Here's Seth Jones. Jones comes on. Stick handling knocked away from him to Riley Nash. And the power play is over. No shots on goal on the second try, 1 on the first, but still Carolina leads it 4-2. Lobbed out towards center. Seth Jones comes over trying to flag it down. It comes back for Bartley. Jones has tried the center red line, drills it in. Matt Cullen after it. Popped up in the air. Tulosti spins it around. Got it back over for Hainsey. Sent into the zone by Tulosti. He's hit by Klein. Tulosti seems a little shaken up by that hit. He remains on the ice as the puck carried in by Yossi. Yossi's try, a rebound came away to the right side. Fisher tried to flex for Colin Wilson. Wilson to Yossi. That blocked in front. And back up ice come the Hurricanes. And there was a move at the line by Dvorak. And now we've got a little scrum going by the Predators bench. Linesmen move in quickly to separate. Eric Stahl, Jordan Stahl, Jeff Skinner, and now coming up is Harrison. So some tempers flaring here with 13-12 gone in the third. That is Harrison. And we'll see what's called when we return. The Hurricanes have a 4-2 lead over Nashville in the third period.
So we got a little skirmish. We got a couple boys in the box, Eric Stahl and Hornqvist. It all sort of starts when they have a little board meeting. Watch over in front of the Predators bench. You're going to see a little hit, a little not so happy. When you take a run at me, you miss me. He says, oh yeah, and the other guy says another oh yeah, and then you know what? They have a whole bunch of oh yeahs.
And it ends up with a 4-on-4 situation here. Eric Stahl, exactly. And Patrick Hornqvist taking seats in the penalty boxes. Carrying the puck in. Now it's Ekholm with a shot just tipped wide. Dahlberg and Ellis down low going after the rebound. As the puck is carried in on the right wing by Malhotra. Taking away Stahlberg. 90 seconds remaining in this 4-on-4. Dahlberg to the corner. Ellis gets in position. Tried to pass over to Ekholm, bounced away. Sekera headmans the puck now for Jordan Stahl. He has Gerby on his left. Holds up to Stahl. Tries to throw it in, and off the glove of Carter Hutton it goes.
As you mentioned, Pete, 6'4", 220, big Jordan Stahl built the wall drilling towards the net on that one.
I don't know if he needs to build the wall. He already is one.
So, okay.
Here's Murphy cutting in. Nice move. Goes around to the corner. Hainsey at the blue line. Tried to give to Murphy. Colin Wilson got in the way. Taken out by Mike Fisher. Slides ahead with it. Coming in. It's 2-on-4 though. As Fisher turns. Got a shot blocked by Hainsey. Yossi, 33 seconds remaining in the 4-on-4. Predators down 2 goals. On the sidewall, Fisher trying to elude Murphy. Left side with it. Colin Wilson diving after it was Hainsey. Wilson chipping at the puck, getting it back. Here's Seth Jones to an open side as Fisher had gone off for the change. Jordan Stahl fires it in. Picked up off the Enberg by Yossi. Matt Cullen, the penalties are over. Cullen with a shot, rebound left in front. Eric Stahl tried to clear it. Hornqvist was right there on the cage. As the puck taken away by Craig Smith and deflected wide off a backhand. Yossi at the left point. Smith penalty for Hornqvist. Cullen trying to get off in front. He was knocked down. Cullen and Hornqvist. Puck was taken by Eric Stahl as he built that wall to which Terry so often refers. His big frame allowed him to do that almost individually. The Predators got back out of the delayed offside. Sent in by Sekera. Carter Hutton. Line pass there for Bartley, which is read by Lindholm. Lindholm on the end wall. Under 4 minutes remaining in the game. Banking it for Hainsey. Hainsey with the try. Deflected off Stahlberg. Stahlberg's pass. Tipped back inside the Carolina line. Up the boards. Away from Toulousty. Sent back in by Malhotra. Hurricanes with the change. Onto the left wing. Backhanded down by Nystrom. Hainsey and Nystrom just about collide. Legwand and Smith try to get the puck turned over by Carolina as they came back. Up on the wall, away from Gerby. Legwand backhands it down the right board, but not all that far. And taken away now by Gerby. Gerby breaking in with Dvorak. His shot stopped. Hutton tried to flip the rebound away. Gerby down hard to the end board. To the blue line. And the shot there tipped up to the right side. Sekera with the shot. Canes continue to exert the offensive pressure. It bounced off the backhand side of Gerby. Gerby now Dvorak. He simply keeps it in deep, and it bounced Grange off the corner boards as Hutton was coming out to play it. 2.5 minutes remain. Predators need some magic here. Down 2. Carrying the puck in, it's Nystrom. Puck slipped on him. Slipped on him again, and then backhands it off the end board. Predators' net is empty. Hutton to the bench for the extra attacker. Here now comes Skinner, and he gets his hat trick into the empty net. As the Hurricanes take a 3-goal lead with 2:07 remaining.
So on an empty net, and of course you don't want Fisher to have, or Skinner rather, have that puck beat because he just completed his hat trick on that empty net. He wasn't missing that one, was he?
No, he was not.
So.
First of his career. And I would say that he's a good candidate to have quite a few more.
Yes. We said at the start of the show, Pete, he's got the good hands. I'll tell you that much. That we knew.
One of those nights that he can't help but enjoy. So Jeff Skinner, 21 years of age, out of Markham, Ontario. Bartley. Tipped back away. Jordan Stahl just sends it in on the right wing. Borak going in after it. Kevin Klein, his first game back after the foot injury suffered in the Edmonton game.
Carolina Hurricanes goal.
Kevin Klein. Just through to the line it goes. Stahlberg Nudging it down now. The pass bounced off the skate of Hainsey. Turned over to Carolina's Nathan Gerby. Got a penalty call coming up here. Stallberg lost his stick, and it's going to be against the Hurricanes. Hurricanes go back to play it. So 18:50 gone.
Let's take a look, Pete, at our Bridgestone performance moment. Well, performances, rather. It's Skinner. There's the first one. He comes in, Pete. That's one goal. Power play just drills one. The second goal for him. And you want to make a hat trick? Empty net, goalie pull. Skinner doesn't miss those either. So there you have your Bridgestone performance moment tonight. Thanks to Jeff Skinner, gets the hat trick. Bridgestone, your journey, our passion.
So the Predators will get the power play with 1:10 remaining, down 3 goals. Seth Jones to the left wing side. Predators nothing of their previous 3 with the advantage. Trying to get out in front for Gaustad. Deflects behind him. And again, the Predators' net is empty. Here's Seth Jones caring for Fisher. To the end wall. Ball. Gaustad sends it back for Josi. Seth Jones. Off the top of the right circle. Josi will fire. That goes off the pads in front. Josi to keep in again for Seth Jones. 30 seconds remain. Legwand right side with it. Looking back out for Seth Jones. Here's Josi. Low left side. Turning around Hornqvist, and his shot absorbed by Peters. So 18.6 remaining in the game. The Hurricanes have this one under control. Saturday, the Preds head to our nation's capital to face superstar Alex Ovechkin and ex-Predator, among others, Joel Ward and the Washington Capitals. It's another watch and win presented by Hunt Brothers Pizza, where we'll give away 2 tickets to the Chicago game on the 17th of December, along with the team autograph stick. Don't miss any of that action. It begins at 6 o'clock Central here on Fox Sports Tennessee. Josi fires off the pass after the face-off win. Craig Smith trying to get it back to Cullen. Cullen a blast, and that took off high almost right away. Josi turning. That goes to the corner. 4 seconds remain in this one. And the Carolina Hurricanes are going to come away with their second consecutive win. They win 2 in a row on the road trip, taking this game here tonight by a 5-2 count. So Carolina with 10 shots in the third period, those against Carter Hutton. The Predators had 7 against Justin Peters. Back with more from Bridgestone Arena in just a few more moments. The Predators defeated by Carolina tonight 5-2.